Welcome to Whispering Shadows, where haunting tales come alive. Tonight, we delve into the Bells of Grayswick Chapel, a chilling story of curiosity, warnings unheeded, and a chapel's ghostly toll that lures unsuspecting souls. As you listen, remember, some places should remain forgotten. If you enjoy unraveling mysteries and spine-tingling suspense, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Whispering Shadows. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss another eerie tale. Now settle in and let the shadows whisper to you. The Bells of Grayswick Chapel. 1. A subtle summons. I always prided myself on being practical, but something about Grayswick had piqued my interest for years. An old photograph in my grandmother's album showing a stone chapel perched amid foggy moors with a cryptic note, "Do not follow the bells after midnight." As a traveling journalist, I leaped at the chance to investigate. Why not? The place was rumored deserted, the chapel defunct. Maybe there was a local legend to uncover, a perfect story for my small but avid readership. So on a chilly autumn day, I arrived at the single dusty road leading into Grayswick. Population? Unclear. The sign read Grayswick in peeling paint. Beyond it stretched a lonely cluster of cottages, a handful of shops closed for the season, and in the distance the chapel, a steeple rising from mist like a warning finger. The sky was already leaden with clouds, a threat of evening rain, perfectly dreary. I parked near what appeared to be the town square, a cracked fountain, a neglected bench. I noticed no one on the streets, though I sensed eyes behind windows. Something intangible in the air whispered, "Are you sure you want to be here?" 2. The Silent Inn. I had booked a night at the local inn, if you can call it that. Wick's Rest, a small slant-roofed building near the square. Inside, a single hallway led to a modest reception desk. Behind it, a woman in a gray shawl looked up with mild surprise. "You're the visitor?" she asked, voice soft. I introduced myself, explaining my interest in local history. Her expression turned guarded. "No one's come by to see the chapel in ages. Let me guess, you heard the rumors about the bells?" I nodded. "Something about them ringing after midnight, even though it's abandoned." She pursed her lips. "It's more than just a rumor. People who go near it after those bells ring don't come back quite the same." A chill tickled my spine. "What do you mean?" She sighed. "Can't say. I just served tea and locked the doors early. But do yourself a favor, stay inside after dark." She handed me a heavy key, pointing me to my room. 3. Grayswick's unspoken history. Determined to pry more details, I wandered the town's lone street. An older man, sweeping his porch, tensed when I asked about the chapel. Another shopkeeper outright refused to speak. The town seemed cloaked in hush, as though acknowledging the chapel out loud might summon something. Eventually, I found a dusty library behind an unmarked door. Inside, a single aisle of books and an elderly librarian who studied me warily. "You want local records?" she guessed, seeing my camera bag. "Yes, especially about the chapel," I said. "I heard the bells ring at midnight for no reason." She closed her eyes, as if bracing for a painful memory. Once, the chapel's bells rang for every funeral. Then, about 50 years ago, a tragedy. An entire family died. Fire, they say. The chapel rang out for them, but locals claimed the bells rang longer than usual that night, echoing across the moors for hours. Ever since, the place has been... She paused. Haunted, or worse. Goosebumps crept over me. "Haunted how?" Her gaze dropped. "Folks say that if you hear the bells after midnight, it's an invitation. The dead family. They want company. Or maybe it's something older, living in the steeple. I don't know. but we all learned never to answer that call. I thanked her, mind abuzz with curiosity. Ghostly bells? A lure for unsuspecting souls? Perfect material for my story. 4. Approaching dusk. Rain began spitting from the clouds as evening fell. The flickering street lamps gave the deserted lanes a ghostly aura. Back at the inn, I found the common room empty, save for the woman in the gray shawl who introduced herself as Agnes. She offered a simple supper, a bowl of soup and crusty bread. As I ate, thunder rumbled in the distance. Agnes hovered, as though wanting to speak but unsure. Finally, she said, "You plan to stay just one night?" I nodded. "Tomorrow, I'll photograph the chapel, maybe get close enough to see if there's anything inside." Her face tightened with alarm. "Listen, if you must see it, do it in daylight. Never go near it once it's dark. And if the bells ring, don't follow them." I recalled my grandmother's note. "I've heard that warning, but are you sure the bells ring at all? It's obviously not in use." She let out a tremulous laugh. "We're sure. We hear them every so often, echoing at midnight for no reason, and we mind our business behind locked doors." Lightning flashed through the window, accentuating her fearful expression. The pit in my stomach deepened. The rational part of me insisted it was just a local superstition, maybe a malfunctioning mechanism. Yet the tension in Agnes's eyes said otherwise. 5. Strange footsteps. Retiring to my room, I locked the door. Rain pelted the roof, lulling me toward sleep. Then, near midnight, I awoke to footsteps outside the inn. Slow, methodical splashes through puddles. My heart hammered. Who would wander in this downpour? Curiosity overcame caution. I peeked out the window. A figure in dark clothing walked down the lane, heading toward the chapel's direction. The shape paused under a lamppost, glanced at the inn sign, then disappeared into shadows. A surge of adrenaline hit me. Could it be another tourist? Or something else entirely? Thunder boomed. Checking the time, I saw it was 11:57 p.m. I recalled the warnings. Don't go out. Don't follow. But the journalist in me burned with the chance to see if the bells truly rang. Maybe I'd capture proof of a local phenomenon. 6. Midnight's toll. At 12 o'clock sharp, a single bell toll shattered the night's hush. My spine tingled. It was deep, resonant, echoing across the moors. Then another toll, and another. I lost count, the reverberation stirring a primal fear within me. Inexplicably, I found my hand on the doorknob, heart racing. Something about the bell's tone felt inviting, as if it beckoned me closer. At that moment, I understood how stories of vanishings might be true. People felt compelled to go to the chapel, helpless to resist. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the door. My grandmother's warning repeated in my head. Do not follow the bells after midnight. I tried to fight the urge, but my curiosity wrestled with caution. Finally, biting my lip, I slid on my coat and slipped into the stormy darkness. 7. The chapel path. Rain stung my cheeks as I hurried through deserted streets, the bell's tolls guiding me like a magnet. The path leading to the chapel was overgrown with weeds, mud sucking at my boots. Each step, the bells grew louder, the tone vibrating in my chest. I spotted a glow in the distance, faint lantern light flickering near the chapel's entrance. The steeple loomed overhead, white stone scarred by time. The storm raged, thunder rattling the old iron gate. But the gate hung ajar, creaking in the wind. I paused, nerves on edge. This was insane. Yet I pushed on, creeping into the courtyard, where tombstones jutted from the soggy earth. The bell tower rose above me, silent now. The final toll had ended moments ago, leaving only the drumming rain. 8. Unholy warmth. Despite the storm, the chapel door stood partially open, a dim golden light flickering inside. My breath caught. Did someone light candles? Or was that the figure from earlier? Stepping in, I found myself in a narrow nave lined with broken pews. Water dripped from cracks in the roof. The air was thick with warmth, oddly comforting for a place so neglected. It almost felt alive. At the far end, near the altar, a single lantern glowed on a stand. Next to it, a robed figure knelt, back turned. My stomach clenched. I tried to speak. "Hello?" But no sound emerged. As I inched closer, the figure rose. Slowly, they turned to face me. Those eyes, blank like milk-white orbs set in a face etched with sorrow. My heart lurched. This was no normal person. 9. The luring spirit. The figure extended a thin, pale hand. "You heard the bells," it whispered, voice resonating strangely in the old space. "You've come to join the vigil." Shakily, I managed, Are you real? Who are you?" A smile played on its lips, twisted by sadness. "We are the watchkeepers. We toll the bell for the lost family, for all lost souls, and for those drawn here by curiosity. You cannot leave now. The bell claimed you." My pulse thundered. Claimed me? That's nonsense. I tried to step back but found my feet glued to the spot. My mind screamed run, but a force pinned me in place. The robed figure drifted closer, the old lantern casting wavering shadows across a face that was half decayed. Or was it a trick of the light? The candlelight revealed more subtle horrors, tattered cloth stained with black splotches, bony hands. My chest tightened in terror. Was this the family that died decades ago? 10. The family in the pew. A scraping noise from behind startled me. Slowly, I turned, shining my phone's flashlight across the pews. There, half hidden in gloom, sat 3 more figures. A woman cradling a small child, an older man slumped at the end of the bench. Each had the same white, vacant eyes, silent as statues. The child's head jerked up, focusing on me. Instinctive panic flared. I lunged for the door, forcing my legs to obey. But the robed figure's voice rose in a haunting chant, echoing off the walls. My limbs seized, heart pounding wildly. The mother figure stood, holding the child. They stepped toward me, movements jerky, almost mechanical. 11. Secret of the Bells. In a flash of insight, I remembered the caretaker at the library's mention. The entire family died, but the bells rang for hours. Could these undead guardians be bound to the chapel, forcing the bell each midnight to lure new souls? I clenched my jaw. My grandmother's note had been a warning. Perhaps she'd encountered the chapel once. Don't follow the bells, or risk being trapped. But I was already in too deep. The chanting grew. The walls felt like they were closing in, each thunderclap rattling stained glass shards that flickered with ghostly color. The robed figure lifted a hand, beckoning me closer to the altar. In the corner of my vision, I saw the door still ajar. If I could break free. 12. A fatal choice. Summoning all my will, I tore myself from the invisible grip, stumbling over a broken pew. The robed figure hissed, the family stirring with sudden urgency. Their eyes glowed with a faint blue luminescence, locking on me like hungry predators. I sprinted, ignoring the sharp pain in my ankle, crossing the threshold in a wild dash. Rain pounded my face. Behind me, I heard a collective wail, a mournful cry that reached deep into my bones. But I forced myself onward, flinging the gate open and crashing onto the moorish path. My lungs burned. Lightning illuminated the path, revealing a narrow route back to town. The robed figure gave chase, more gliding than running. My adrenaline soared. If I could just make it to the main road. 13. The Hollow Triumph. At last, I spotted the faint glow of the street lamps near Grayswick Square. The figure halted at the edge of the moor, as if bound by unseen chains. Its shriek soared above the storm, echoing until it faded behind me. Collapsing under a lamppost, I gasped for air, half laughing in relief. I escaped. Agnes burst from the inn's doorway, cloak flapping. "You fool!" she sobbed, wrapping me in a half-panic. "We heard the bells. We thought you were lost." I managed a weak nod. My entire body trembled. "I saw them. They tried to keep me." Her expression fell, then she ushered me inside. She pressed a steaming mug of something into my hands. The storm raged beyond the windows, rattling them in fierce gusts. I murmured jumbled explanations: robed specters, undead family, the cursed bell. She just shook her head, tears brimming. "So many wander in, never come out." 14. A glimpse of shadows. Dawn arrived, pale and gray. The storm eased. I loaded my car with shaky hands, determined to leave Grayswick behind forever. Agnes stood on the porch, cautioning me to drive safe, sadness plain in her eyes. As I turned onto the main road, the chapel steeple loomed one last time in my rearview mirror. A wave of fear and pity twisted my gut. The bells were silent now. Did they only ring when they wanted fresh souls? I exhaled, thinking of the robed figure, the ghostly family, the chapel's unstoppable lure. I had survived. Maybe that was enough. 15. The last toll. 50 miles from Grayswick, I relaxed on a deserted highway. I tried to rationalize the night's horror, illusions, or my own overactive imagination. My phone buzzed. No signal issues now. I could call for... Wait, I realized with a chill. I never told anyone about last night. Who would believe me? Then, faintly, on the edge of hearing, came a single bell toll. My heart froze. It rang again, echoing in the still air, impossibly here in broad daylight, like it had followed me. Or was it just in my mind? Panic flared. I pulled over, scanning the empty road. The bell's tone grew louder, resonant. My rational side screamed it was impossible, yet the sound drummed in my ears, forging a compulsion. The road behind me? A sign that read, "Next exit, Gray." But no, that couldn't be. Trembling, I realized with cold dread, the bell's call had found me. Perhaps no one escapes it fully, once you've answered. The final toll resounded, and a haze dimmed my vision. My hands turned the wheel, as if something else guided me back down the road toward Grayswick's silhouette looming once more in the distance.